Hello, this is Joe from Nerd in Korea. We are continuing our Budget Interesting Commanders series, and we're looking at the EDHrec top Planeswalker Commanders now. So yeah, or Planeswalker theme, remember, yeah. So what is this series about? This is meant to give ideas for good commanders that are available on a budget and how to build them, right? So we only look at 3 cards on how to build them, but it's giving you kind of a starting point at least. So I am focusing on commanders that use particular themes on EDHrec. We're looking at the top 5 budget commanders for a particular theme. Again, today it is Planeswalker, right? Or Planeswalkers, maybe. Anyway, so what is a theme? A theme is a focus of a deck. So what kind of mechanics it uses? And yeah, we have a definition that I've read many times now. And this is, yeah, all about commanders that synergize with Planeswalkers. They're good decks to use in, well, what they usually call a Super Friends deck, right? So these aren't necessarily Planeswalkers themselves. One of them is, but yeah. They're just ones that are very good to use with a bunch of with a bunch of Planeswalkers. A commander that's good with Planeswalkers. But anyway, yeah. The Planeswalker theme. So Planeswalker is a relatively new card type. So other than Battle, it's the newest one. The players are supposed to be the original Planeswalkers, which is why they work the way they do. So in the game, what you're playing as is a Planeswalker, essentially, right? The player is supposed to be the Planeswalker. They can be targeted with attacks, unlike other card types, right? So normally you cannot attack creatures. You can attack the player or a Planeswalker, and they are unable to attack like creatures. Again, very much following the same rules as for a player. A player can't, well, I guess they could, but they're not allowed to by the rules, right? Anyway, okay. In the 99, alright, so we have Flux Channeler is very good. Remember, Planeswalkers do get counters, and those counters can be proliferated. So every time you proliferate, you put another counter on a commander. So Flux Channeler is very good for that. For 2 and a blue, it's a 2/2, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate, right? So every time you cast anything that is not a creature, you're going to put another counter on all of your Planeswalkers. This gets out of hand very, very quickly. All right, so 103 for that one. And here's a very different kind of take on it. Kasmina, Enigma Sage. So it is 1 and then Simic, so green-blue. And each other Planeswalker you control has the loyalty abilities of Kasmina. She grants all of your other Planeswalkers loyalty abilities. This is really huge, especially if you've got something like Narset Parter of Veils. She does not actually have a plus ability. There are a lot of ones that don't come with their own plus ability. She will essentially give them a plus ability, which really kind of breaks the card almost. Anyway, so for +2, scry 1, -X, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, put X +1/+1 counters on it, sure. Or for -8, search your library for an instant or sorcery card that shares a color with this Planeswalker. Again, so whatever Planeswalker it happens to be, exile that card, then shuffle. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. There's quite a lot of Planeswalkers that'll start with much higher loyalty. So this one starts with 2, right? That would not be very easy. But if you have something that starts with like 5 or 6, you can proliferate and then use a +2, and then you're already set, right? You're already ready to use that -8. And 94 cents. And finally, Karn's Bastion is a land. So that's the nice thing about this one, is that it is a land, okay? You can tap it to add a colorless mana, or pay 4 and tap it to proliferate. Proliferate, just so good with, well, all kinds of decks, but Planeswalkers in particular. And that's 172 now. This used to be one of my go-to cards because it was like under $1, and my budget cards keep being not budget anymore. The countdown. Number 5. Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh. So whenever you cast a red spell, untap her, first of all, and you can tap her, deal 1 damage to target player. If she has dealt 3 or more damage this turn, exile her, then return to the battlefield transformed under her owner's command. So the transformed one is another Chandra, the Roaring Flame. So basically she awakens as a Planeswalker. So when she... oh good, yeah. So for her +1, she deals 2 damage to target player. Again, doing damage directly to players is not a bad thing, for sure. For -2, she deals 2 damage to target creature. So her minus is actually dealing damage to a creature since they're the players. Kind of an odd one. And yeah, for -7, she deals 6 damage to each opponent. 6, oh my. And each player dealt damage this way gets an emblem at the beginning of your upkeep. This emblem deals 3 damage to you. So deals 6, and then at the beginning of their next upkeep, they're going to take 3 more damage. That's an emblem. Nothing you can really do to get rid of emblems. So they need to like somehow counter the ability, if anything. But yeah, as soon as that emblem's on them, it's just stuck there for the rest of the game. That's it, right? Pretty terrifying combination there. Okay, so again, she's in 1699 decks. One thing to point out is that her transformation is triggered by the amount of damage done, not the number of times activated or anything like that, right? So it's really about getting that damage up. If you can get that up even once, then you're tapping her once, and then casting a red spell, tapping her one more time, and boom, done, right? Being able to quickly gain loyalty to repeatedly activate her ultimate is key, right? Anything that lets you like really keep activating her ultimate, if you do it twice even, that's what, 12 damage, and at the start of their turn, they're going to take 6 damage at the start of every turn. That's uphill. That is a lot of uphill. Anyway, she used 195. Okay, so we have, I believe it's Sunspine Links. I have my camera in the way, of course. So players can't gain life. Sorry, 2 and 2 red for a 5/4. Players can't gain life. Damage can't be prevented. That's what we really like there. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to the number of non-basic lands that players control. Sorry, to each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. The thing about playing a mono deck, you can just go all mountains, right? If you're all mountains, you're good. You don't care, right? You've got no dual colors to worry about or anything. It's not too hard to do, really. Anyway, 142. And we got another Chandra here, Accolade of Flame for 1 and 2 red. It starts with 4. This is one of the ones that does not have a plus ability. So if you combine this with something that gives her a plus ability, it really gives her quite the advantage. Alright, so for 0, put a loyalty counter on each red planeswalker you control. So she kind of does have, since she is a red planeswalker, she's going to get a +1 from this also, right? But this basically gives you the ability to put +1s on all of your red planeswalkers. So if you have multiple in this deck, it really pays off. It's basically kind of proliferate anyway. And for 0, create 2 1/1 red elemental creature tokens. They gain haste. Sacrifice them in the beginning of next end step. So you're just making some flame elementals to just throw at people. They are 1/1s, but probably you got something that's going to let you take more advantage of it. Anyway, for -2, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard. If that card will be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it instead. This kind of effect is great to combine with, what are they called? Adventures, right? The adventure doesn't go back to your graveyard, it goes to the adventure thing. So it's going to go into exile, into its own little zone, So this way, if you have something in adventure, you can just cast it and then cast it as a creature, and then it'll go back to the graveyard, and then you cast it again. So you keep just cycling it that way. It's a very easy little hack. So anyway, 85 cents for that one. And finally, this is one of my go-tos. Actually, I gotta order some of these just to have kicking around for deck building. Mechanized Warfare. 1 red enchantment. If a red or artifact source you control would deal damage to an opponent, or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much +1 instead. So what we said before with the Chandra's ability, you can automatically do 2 every time instead of just 1. So that's, again, you only need to activate or tap her twice to do the damage. So really you need to cast 1 red spell on your turn, and that'll give you the untap and then tap her again, and then good to go, right? Transformed. And you've done 4 damage as well. Anyway, 50 cents. And this just a really good combination. Number 4. Leori, Spark Touch Hunter. Okay. He is Jeskai, so blue, red, white for a 3/3 with flying and vigilance. Nice combo. Vigilance with like anything is always nice, but anyway. Here we go. Whenever Leori, Spark Touch Hunter deals combat damage to a player, choose a Planeswalker type. This is a weird one. Until end of turn, whenever you activate an ability of a Planeswalker of that type, copy that ability. You may choose new targets for the copies. Okay, so there's a couple important things to point out there. Anyway, that is 49 cents for that one. First of all, it's only in 916 decks. That's pretty low for something that's on the top 5. Planeswalker type is the weird thing on this for me. I thought I knew what it meant, and I went and checked or double checked to make sure. But yeah, basically the particular Planeswalker. So for instance, Chandra is what I'm going to focus on here. I just like Chandra, but anyway, there's also maybe Narset or what's his name, the main one. I always forget, of course. Anyway, blue guy. Yep, just gone. My brain sucks. Anyway, it is important to note that copying the ability does not add additional loyalty counters, right? You're copying the ability, you are not doubling the anything, right? So any ability you use, you're going to use it twice, but that activation, if you get like a plus or minus or whatever it is, that's only one time. This is bad if it's a plus, but it's a plus if it's minus. Okay, I said that very confusingly on purpose. Anyway, so yeah, if it's like, say, a -8 ability, you don't do -16 because you've doubled it. Or if it's a -X ability, you don't double the X, right? You're just paying once, either way, so yeah. Anywho. Oath of Teferi. So here's a very common one, I think. This is something, if you can use it in a Planeswalker deck, you probably should. But anyway, so when it enters the battlefield, exile another target permanent you control and return it to the battlefield under Zona's control. Flicker something. That's always nice to be able to, like, you know, get an extra ETB or something out of something. You may activate loyalty abilities of Planeswalkers you control twice each turn rather than only once. That gets crazy, right? So, Leori, you choose whatever Planeswalker you want, and then, yeah, you're going to have this down so you can activate each thing twice, and then you're going to double it each time you activate it. So basically, you get 4. Every turn you're going to be activating using abilities 4 times, right? You could use 2 different abilities or the same ability twice, but 4 times per ability. Again, so if you have, say, 3 Chandras, then each one is going to activate twice. So there you go, 6, and then you're going to double those. So that's 12, right? 12 12 is crazy. Anyway, only 45 cents for that. So for Chandra, Torch of Defiance. I'm trying to say too many CHs in a row. Alright, so 2 and 2 red. She starts with 4. Again, she's a Planeswalker. She starts with 4 loyalty. And for a +1, exile the top card of your library. You may cast the card this turn. If you don't, she deals 2 damage to each opponent. Very nice little ability there. It's always good to like do extra damage as like a backup to not playing a card, dealing extra damage. Hey, great. Anyway, for her other +1, you can add 2 red mana. So if you don't have cards in hand, you use the first one. If you do have cards, use the second one and get your mana. Mana and card draw. The 2 main things every deck needs, anyway. Okay, her -3, she deals 4 damage to target creature. Okay. And for -7, you get an emblem. Whenever you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to any target. So every time you cast any spell, right? Any spell, you can deal 5 damage to a target. And you can potentially get more than one of these as well, right? Remember, if you're doubling that, you're getting 2 of those. 5 damage, you can do 5 damage twice, so 10 damage. Duh. Every time you cast a spell, just like 10 extra damage. Just go cantrips and like 10 damage, 10 damage, 10 damage. Oh, 190 for that one. And Chandra, Awakened Inferno for 4 and 2 red. Starting 6 loyalty. This spell can't be countered. Nice. Her +2, each opponent gets an emblem at the beginning of your upkeep. This emblem deals 1 damage to you. So a lot of Chandras seem to have things like that, where it's like emblems that just deal damage. They stack up a lot, right? You can just keep doing that every turn. At first, it seems like just a minor annoyance, and once you get more and more of them down, though, it gets carried away. And so for her -3, deal 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. So you want to use this with elementals, obviously, but... And then -X deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. If a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. Exile is always nice, and $2 for that one. Number 3. Tomek, Wielder of Law. Okay, so for 1 and Orzhov, alright, so 1 white and a black. First of all, he is a 2/4 flying and vigilance, and he has affinity for planeswalkers. That means for each planeswalker, you can reduce his casting cost by 1 colorless. He only has 1 colorless, so you can reduce it only by 1. Kind of weird for him to even have that. Anyway, affinity for planeswalkers is also very unusual, but I'm just going to go on a tangent there. And whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or planeswalkers you control, that opponent loses 3 life and you draw a card. Okay, so once again, he's in 1242 decks. He has affinity for planeswalkers. Weird. Even you're only really reducing it by 1 is the maximum you can do, so he can get a bonus from that for 1 planeswalker only. And usually affinity is tied to artifacts, not to planeswalkers, so it can be tied to anything really, but yeah, most commonly artifacts. And I think this is the only time I've at least seen a planeswalker one, but anywho. So a Flying Vigilance 2/4, that's actually pretty solid. For 2 mana, especially probably casting for 2 mana, that's kind of crazy. And yeah, being able to draw a card is, I think, a better disincentive in most of the time than the 3 damage, right? We're going to try to focus on both of those. Anyway, 125. So, Onaki Oathkeeper. Why is my camera on top of everything? Anyway. I wonder if I can... Just wait. I'll try to... Oh, way too much. Okay. I made it worse. Yeah, cool. Alright, there we go. Yay. So for 1 and a white, it's a 0/4. Creatures can't attack planeswalkers you control unless their control pays 1 for each creature they control that's attacking a planeswalker you control. So keeping your planeswalkers even more safe. Basically, this is designed to make you a better target than your planeswalker. So it's about keeping your planeswalkers high up on their life totals or their loyalty points or counters, loyalty counters, I should say. And for 4 white, you can exile him from your graveyard and return target planeswalker card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So go straight from your graveyard to the battlefield. 6 is a lot, but you know what? It might be worthwhile. Always a great option to have. 40 cents. Next up, Oath of Kaya. So we got another one of these oaths here. And this is 1 Orzhov. So 1 white-black. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. This could potentially be a removal spell. 3 is not really bad. That's not a lot, but it's really not bad. Gaining 3 life, yeah, sure, why not? And whenever an opponent attacks with a planeswalker, or attacks a planeswalker you control with 1 or more creatures, it deals 2 damage to that player and you gain 2 life. So this is kind of doubling down on Tomek's effect, right? And once again, kind of leaning more towards what I'm looking to do with these is make you a better target than your planeswalkers. A lot of this is just about like keeping your planeswalkers safe, and the best way to do that is by making it so they don't get attacked, but you do. Or, hey, it's Commander. Attack someone else, right? That's even better. Anyway, 40 cents. And finally, Sorin, Lord of Innistrad. So 2 Orzhov, so white-black. +1 is create a 1/1 black vampire token with lifelink. Nice to have. -2, you get an emblem with creatures you control, get +1/+0. Remember, you can get multiple emblems that are the same. So you can just keep stacking these up. Every turn you could get another one and just kind of have this huge bonus to your creatures that players won't be able to interact with. Emblems are the safest thing in the game. Alright, and his -6, destroy up to 3 target creatures and or planeswalkers. Return each card put into the graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. So it's not just removal, it's stealing. Yoy. 3 especially. That's a pretty magic number in Commander, right? You have 3 opponents with 3 commanders. Just take out their commanders and, yeah, put them under your control. Maybe they want to, when they go to the graveyard, they could return them to the command zone instead. Okay, if they want to pay the extra tax, it's fine. You know? 76 cents. Number 2. Karth the Lion. I really like this one. Alright, so he is 2 Golgari, so black-green. Kind of an interesting color combination as well. I feel like not a lot of these Planeswalker Commanders have these colors, but anyway. So he is a 3/5, and when he enters the battlefield, or a Planeswalker you control dies. So anytime a Planeswalker dies, you're getting this trigger again. Pretty huge in Planeswalker decks. So you may reveal a Planeswalker card. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal a Planeswalker card from among them and put them into your hand. So anytime he comes in or a Planeswalker dies, you're looking at top 7 cards. Take a Planeswalker out, straight to your hand. That's going to be a good amount. It's also kind of a disincentive for people to actually take out your Planeswalkers. They're kind of just going to keep giving you more ammunition if they keep doing that, right? So it is. I think people underestimate disincentives in this game. Like when you're actually playing it, when someone's like, "Oh, if I do this, if I take out the Planeswalker, he's just going to get another one right away." Well, what's the point? Anyway, Planeswalkers loyalty abilities. You activate, cost an additional +1 to activate. Crazy. Remember, a lot of things are like +1 or +2, so they'll be +2 or +3 with that. That +1 is so good. Also the minuses, right? If something's like a -6, it's -5 instead. Just really more value for every single action you take with that. It's just really good to have. Anyway, 30 whole cents, and he is in 3,083 decks. So yeah, his first ability, I think you kind of can't really underestimate exactly how that'll play out. I think if someone does take out your commander, make sure to point out, like, or your commander, I keep saying commander and planeswalkers interchangeably, which is not good on a planeswalker video. I would make sure to point out, like, if someone's taking out one of your planeswalkers, be like, oh, now I get to do this, now I get to do this. Just to make sure it's clicking with them, going, oh, wait, that kind of helped. Yeah, I helped my opponent there, didn't I? And yeah, that's kind of a gameplay tip, I guess, if you are going to use Karth. And so, Plazo Archers. For 2 and a green is a 2/3 with reach. Whenever a creature with flying attacks you or a planeswalker you control, this deals damage equal to its power to that creature. Get some equipment or something. Throw that on this guy. Scary, right? Flyers are not the toughest ones usually. If they've got like dragons, you know, they can just not sweat it. But a lot of flyers, just taking that automatic 2 damage is going to be a lot. Especially if you can boost that up a bit somehow. That's going to just be like, even dragons are usually what, 5 or 6? One decent piece of equipment, and it's just kind of like automatically you're almost immune to flyers. I ordered a whole bunch of this card because I think it's amazing. Anyway. Next up, kind of, I think, probably one of the most well-known ones here. Evolution Sage. For 2 and a green is a 3/2 landfall. So whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, proliferate. Every time you play a land, just go ahead and put another counter on everything, including your planeswalkers, right? Out of hand very quickly. Also, landfall is great with green. I hopefully don't have to tell you, but yeah, green is kind of good at ramping a little bit, right? So that's what it does. Anyway, 175. So the Palazzo Archers, 19 cents, and this is 175 for Evolution Sage. Keeps going up. It was under $1 like a couple months ago, I think. And finally, Garruk, Primal Hunter, for 2 and 3 green. His +1 is create a 3/3 beast creature token. Again, with Karth's ability, that's +2, right? -3 or -2 with Karth. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. That is going to be a good amount of card draw, right? Even if you just have Palazzo Archers and you use that -2 to get 2 cards, I'm good with that, personally. Probably going to be able to do much better. So -6 or -5 with Karth. Create a 6/6 green worm creature token for each land you control. Each land, right? So hopefully you're going to be ramping, going to be triggering Evolution Sage, and then you're going to be using Evolution Sage, all of those triggers you got from him to set off this. I keep calling it ultimate. I feel like that might be wrong, but anyway. And with all of those lands that you've ramped, you're going to be making just a ton of worms. 6/6 worms. Oh boy. 179. That's a win con right there. Number 1. If you can't guess who, well, Commodore Guff. Okay, so he is 1 Jeskai. So this blue, red, white. Our second Jeskai card on the list here. And he is in 4,812 decks. He is a pre-con commander as well, so that's something to consider. At the beginning of your end step, put a loyalty counter on another target Planeswalker you control. Okay, that's alright. It's kind of underwhelming, I think, for the number 1. Again, I didn't make this list. This is EDHrec, okay? So if I'm being critical, it still makes sense, I think. Okay, so for his +1, is create a 1/1 red wizard creature token with, you can tap him to add a red mana, spend this ability mana only to cast a Planeswalker spell. So only Planeswalker spells, especially with red. I guess you're either doing the colorless with the red, or maybe Chandras, lots of Chandras. Again, Jeskai is very flexible, so you could. And then -3, you draw X cards and counter Guff deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of Planeswalkers you control. So just get lots of Planeswalkers out, and you can start doing this -3 thing. Again, he starts with 5, so if you can proliferate a few times, you can probably just keep pumping out this -3 pretty easily, right? Anyway, he's a whole 67 cents. That's not bad. Again, all he's all about, just like get lots of Planeswalkers, okay? And Jeskai is a great color combination for doing that. It gives you a lot of flexibility, a lot of different ways to kind of build them. So yeah, it's even my suggestions here, I focus on kind of more defensive. So yeah, you'll definitely see that. And that's the downside of having so many Planeswalkers, is that, yeah, you get a lot of targets that way. Anywho, what must be done? This is actually, I really love this one. I should get it. But anyway, 3 white, a little more pricey than a lot of. This is can be a board wipe. Anyway, sorcery. Let the world burn is one option. Destroy all artifacts and creatures. So you remember, you care about Planeswalkers. Creatures, yeah, you know what? Hey, get rid of them, sure. Artifacts is probably gonna hurt you as well, but it'll hurt everyone, you know, yeah. And release Juno, return target historic permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It enters with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it if it's a creature. So artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. Most Planeswalkers are legendary, so you're probably going to be able to use this to either return a Planeswalker to the battlefield you really need, let's say it's a combo piece or something, or you can just blow up everything. 49 cents. And for, this is Vronos, Masked Inquisitor, 3 blue, and up to 2 other target Planeswalkers you control phase out at the beginning of the next end step, so you can just take 2 things out of the game so they can't be targeted. Basically, just treat them like they're not there. Especially with Planeswalkers, that's pretty good. So treat them and anything attached to them as though they don't exist until your next turn. Remember, yeah, this protects them for a whole turn. Amazing. Anyway, especially with lots of Planeswalkers. Anyway, -2 for each permanent, for each opponent, return up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls to its owner's hand. So you're basically just bouncing a bunch of stuff for -2. That's nice. And -7, target artifact you control becomes a 9/9 construct artifact creature and gains vigilance, indestructible, and this creature can't be blocked. Can't be blocked, and 9/9, that's indestructible. Definitely it could be a finisher, but yeah, the main thing you want that for, right, is that first ability, right? Just keep taking your Planeswalkers, making it so they can't be targeted. That just does a lot of work. Anyway, $2. And then Wall of Denial. This is probably the most defensive card imaginable. But anyway, imaginable. I can say it. So it's 1 white-blue Azorius. So Defender, Flying, and Shroud. Again, Shroud means it can't be target of anything, any spells or instants, sorceries, whatever, including your own. So quite good there. And a whole 40 cents for that one. Hello, hello, hello? Hello, hello, hello? Please hit like and subscribe, it really does help. Okay, so the list, here we go. Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh is $1.95. Leori, Spark Touch Hunter, 49 cents. Tomek, Wielder of Law, $1.25. Karth the Lion, 30 cents. I'm gonna order like 3 of those just because I don't think it stays at 30 cents. That's crazy. Commodore Guff is 69 cents. Alright, take it easy.